Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. A hearty welcome to you for the second day event of National Seminar, which is proposed by GRCRD on exploring the contributions of warriors of, in the freedom struggle and contemporary relevance. So yesterday we had very fruitful sessions, started by our chief guest and Vani Devi, Surabhi Vani Devi Garu, and keynote address by Rama Melkoji Garu and I Chitam Sridhar Garu, who gave a very good beginning for the seminar. And then it was followed by the academic sessions. Eminent professors, they have come and attended these sessions and gave very scholarly outputs. And the sessions, 2 sessions were clubbed and chaired by our Professor Adpa Satyanarayana sir. Now, may I call upon for this session 5, which is the theme is freedom struggle, freedom movement in Andhra. We have discussed extensively yesterday Telangana. And today I call upon to the dais our esteemed Professor Shakila Khanamji, Dean Faculty of Arts, to the dais. Now I request Professor Sheikh Mahbub Basha, Department of History, Maulana Azad National Research University, to the dais. I request Dr. A. Raghukumar Garu, Senior Advocate and Telangana High Court, and he's also considered Social Development, sir.
Center for Social
Development. And he's actively involved in Gandhi Martin Luther King Foundation, so making his interventions on several aspects of it. Now I request Chandrakala to the dais to be the discussant. Right. Kanakadurga, please introduce the speakers. We have Professor Ishwariya from Hyderabad Central University is going to join us soon. So meanwhile, we'll start the sessions with
A very good morning to all of you. Assembly here. This is the session, the third session, I would say, which we are having in the view of the national seminar we are holding in view of the concluding event of the 75 years of independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. I would like to introduce the speakers briefly to you. Dr. A. Raghukumar is an advocate practicing in employment law in Hyderabad since 2005. His prior worked in telecom department. He has a doctoral degree in law on the impact of globalization on industrial relations in India. He was awarded a Doctor of Philosophy in the year 2004 by the Department of Law, Osmania University. He also has a degree in MA in philosophy. He published his political work on Gandhi, A Hope in Despair in 2020. His second major work, revisiting Ram Manohar Lohia, Challenges to Theory and Practice of Alternative Socialism, was published by Akar, New Delhi. He has also written about 30 articles in English and Telugu, published in various magazines, Janata, The Radical Humanist, Mainstream, India Forward, Triveni, Missimi, etc. Many of his contributions are on Gandhi, Lohia, Marx, B.N. Rao, and on non-violence, politics, socialism, the Constitution of India, and others. He also published 2 volumes of poetry in Telugu, one novel on personal reflections on parents and philosophy, Ashramamu Adhunikata, and Telugu version of his book Gandhi Andhra Andhakaramlo Asha Jyoti on Gandhi. He has also co-edited 2 books in Telugu. And also, he has a centenary commemorative volume on Madhulimaye and Madhudandavati. Sir, we are grateful to you for honoring this with your presence here. I'd like now to introduce Dr. Sheikh Mahbub Pasha. He is Assistant Professor of History in Directorate of Distance Education, Maulana Azad National Open University, Urdu University. His educational qualifications are BA, BA, and also MA and MPhil, and he has MPhil and PhD from JNU. His thesis title is Perspectives on Women's Liberation in Colonial Andhra, a study of the women's journal. Also, his thesis title is Print Culture in Women's Voices, a study of Telugu journals. He has served for 9 years in Baba Sahib Ambedkar Central University, and from 11th August 2014, he has been working in Maulana Azad National Urdu University. He has also worked on women in Indian history and women in modern India, and he has a number of publications, and he has given certain books in Telugu too, like Mahila Chaitanyam in Rayalaseemalo. And Print Culture in Women's Voices, he has given a study of Telugu journals in Orient Black Swan publication. Sir, we are very happy to introduce here. And
Shakila Madam.
Yes.
Chairperson.
Yeah, and the session is being chaired by Professor Shakila Khanum. We will know her well. She's good at Hindu and Urdu literature. She has been with us for many years, right from 1990s. She has served more than 20 years and God has a number of publications.
I'm going to complete 30 years in 3 months.
Yeah, she says she'll be retiring too soon. But then your services are quite laudable, madam. And we hope you'll change the session and give some direction to the seminar. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to congratulate. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to congratulate to my dear friend, Professor Sudharani, Director, Professor G. Ram Reddy Center for Research and Development, GRCR&D, for conducting a beautiful seminar. Those who are missing, I think they are very unlucky persons. They are really missing all the very good and dynamic and very informative, innovative sessions. Yesterday I was there. It was very, very, what should I say, thought-provoking lectures were there. I came to know so many dimensions of Azadi ke Veer, like unknown warriors of freedom struggle. So many in Muslims, in minorities, in Dalit, in women and all. Just now I was sharing with Dr. Basha also. His research was on women warrior in Andhra Pradesh. He has searched one, I think 2 women warriors. We didn't know about that. And he has written a good paper also. I read it. And regarding sir, Dr. A. Rakhukumar Garu, and we have invited you on the Ambedkar lecture also. He was the chief guest, and I listened you a lot. Both are welcome for this seminar. And first speaker, Dr. Professor Sheikh Mahbub Pasha. Sir, you can present your paper.
Thank you, madam.
Hello. Madam.
Very good morning, everybody. Respected chairperson, Professor Shakila Khanum Sahiba, the co-presenters, Dr. Avadhanam Ravikumar Garu, and perhaps the rapporteur and the August gathering here. A very good morning to all of you once again. In fact, coming to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University would be like re-entering my home because I have my dearest friends working, especially in the history department, and also an APA working in the department of Hindi here. Upon being invited to present a paper with a very short notice, I was puzzled. First, I thought, I regret saying that I may not be able to write a paper within such a short span of 24 hours. But then a kind of familial bonding pushed me into an overnight working on whatever material that I had accumulated. And finally, the result is the title of this paper, which says, "Whose dominance must end? Feminism, Nationalism, and the Colonial Telugu Women's Journals." What is the purpose of the paper? The paper charts the journey of colonial Telugu women towards the anti-colonial national movement. Apart from narrating the contribution of Telugu women to the Indian national movement, it discusses the means and methods of their participation in the country's freedom struggle. It also addresses the question of Telugu women's relationship with the freedom movement and, most importantly, the way they defined their freedom or freedoms. What were the various forms and manifestations of dominance that they wanted to end? Which particular layer of dominance they chiefly focused on to fight and fell are only a few of the pertinent questions it tries to discuss. I mean to say is that normally in our textbook historiographical presentations, women are generally presented as having a very straightforward relationship with Indian national movement, that the men asked them to participate and they did. Men asked them to picket before liquor shops, they did. Men asked them to put on khatar, they did. Did it really take place is a fundamental question that I wanted to ask. The second question that I would like to pose is whether women always thought that colonial rule has to be ended, or they wanted to end male domination in society. Between these two, which one they prioritized? If at all they prioritized ending male domination, at what historical juncture and with what consequences they did that? Third, whether women solely wanted to end the domination of men alone, or they wanted to dominate the domination of other women within the family, maybe a joint family setup or a nuclear family setup. These layers of three dominations, which colonial Andhra women thought, worked upon, and contested, are the issues that this paper would chiefly like to address. So what are the sources for this study? Before we begin answering our questions, which I have just raised, we briefly look at the various primary sources used for writing this paper. Our principal sources are the women's journals published during the colonial period. As many as 30 women's journals were published in Telugu, a few edited by men and many by women themselves during the British rule. Other sources like women's letters, their jail diaries, and many other personal papers of women are used for writing this paper. Let us first see how the women's journals looked like, the chief sources of this paper. This is Telugu Janana magazine, edited by the noted social reformer, Raisam Venkata Shivudu Garu, who was a close associate of Kandukuri Veerashalingam in the efforts for social reform. This was published from several places like Rajahmundry, Bejawada, Madras, Guntur, because unlike Veerashalingam himself, Venkata Shivudu did not possess a printing press of his own, because print capitalism was just emerging in Madras presidency, and this was he was one of the entrepreneurs in that direction. Second, this is Hindu Sundari, started originally by Satyaraju Sitaramaya, who is famous for his wonderful work, Arvela Niyoga Brahmanudu. So he also authored many books such as Vantalakka, chiefly addressing women. And then he first thought that he would have a woman as an editor of this journal, but since he could not publish any, he could not find any Hindu woman to come forward, he finally approached Mandapaka Johanamma, a native Christian woman, who readily agreed to contribute a paper in this. This started in 1902 and continued well beyond the 1960s with a break in between. Third, Vivekavati. This is run by a Christian missionary press. Christian Literature Society Madras was its publisher. Unlike the initial Telugu women's journals, this journal had very organized division of labor, and a committee, Vivekavati committee, looked after this journal. Being a Christian missionary journal, Vivekavati not only talked about Hindu social reform, but also preached the Christianity and especially emphasized the natives' loyalty to British Crown. This is Anasuya by Vinjamuri Venkataratnamma. In Anasuya, we find nascent emergence of feminist ideology of Telugu women. Anasuya's chief contribution to women's development was that it conducted an examination, the Anasuya Bahumati Pariksha, just like what previously the Vijnana Chandrika Parishad was conducting under the aegis of Kamaraj Venkat Lakshmana Rao and his close associates. This is the outstanding women's journal, Griha Lakshmi, started and initially edited by Kota Narasimham. Originally, he was the Kota Narasimham. Later on, he became Dr. Kota Nara Kesari, which his teacher named him because of some confusion between students with same names. So later on, Chebrolu Saraswati became its assistant editor, and there was an editorial board in which Kanuparti Varalakshmamma, Raisam Venkateshivudu, and a few others were present. If we examine the writings of women in this journal, we find that feminism is definitely not the 1970s and 80s phenomena in Andhra, but its roots go back to the colonial period. This is Andhra Mahila, what you can say, the most radical of all the women's journals, which chiefly talked about women's civil and political rights, right to divorce, right to property, right to inheritance, and many others. It had such articles like, if I just can recall correctly, Chadalu Pattina Hindu Laku Antekriyalu, written by a very radical feminist of the colonial period. So, what are the existing documents we have about which forcefully talk about the contribution of and participation in of Telugu women? Telugu women, I mean the people of both Andhra and Telangana, and we lost one Ganjam, which was a part of Madras presidency, and we also lost one Bellary, which is today in Karnataka. Professor Sarojini Regani's meticulous work is an outstanding work. Who in freedom struggle in Andhra Pradesh, and later on we have Dr. Vasa Prabhavati, Dr. K. Janaki, and intermittently we have another outstanding work by V. Koteshwaramma from Vijayawada. Can we go beyond these documented histories of women? And what do the so far documented histories of women tell us? They tell us that women participated. They do not tell us that women participated as active agents casting their own future unconsciously contributing to nation building. Here in these presentations, women are passive recipients of the male commandments by male nationalists. But did it really happen? What was going on in the mental frame of women, especially during the 1920s and 30s in Andhra? Telugu women's entry into the public sphere was facilitated first by the Christian missionaries and later by the social reform movements initiated and initially led by enlightened men. Faithfully adopting the male prescribed reform agenda, especially in the first 2 decades of the 20th century, Telugu women strongly demanded reforms that went in favor of them. Campaigning for women's education and widow remarriage and against child marriage was on the top of the list of women's priorities. As time progressed, other issues like various civil and political rights of women were added to the list. Gaining freedom for the country, especially by strengthening Gandhian constructive programs like promotion of Khabdar, communal harmony, by extension Hindu-Muslim unity, quote-unquote Harijan uplift, picketing before liquor shops was also a major issue for women. As women were progressing from social reform to freedom movement, there was a perceptible change in women's public pronouncements. First, they idolized the British rule. For them, British rule was God on earth. Later on, Gandhi became their God. So how did this transformation take place? Let us see examples. Telugu women exhibited the highest possible admiration for British rule, especially before the 1920s. They treated it to be their liberator from social oppression. In this regard, they were like the male social reformers like Kandukuri Veerasilingam, who praised British rule. I quote, it's not my original, it is taken from Professor V. Ramakrishna's work, Social Reform in Andhra. The fact that we are meeting and fearlessly discussing political issues today is due to the benevolence of God-given British rule to us in the best interests of our country, Veerasilingam said. He wanted British rule to continue for, quote, he feared that if the British were to leave India, it would result in lawlessness and disorder and, above all, give a setback to the efforts at social reform, since the majority was unenlightened and socially backward. Was it only male social reformers who were speaking in favor of British or deifying the British rule? No. A number of women appreciated and hailed the British rule. They sincerely felt that the British really helped them combating the native cultural patriarchy. Let us see what Uppuluri Nagaratnamma said. Uppuluri Nagaratnamma, let me give a brief note about her, was married at the age of 6. Soon after 6 months, she became a widow. But her parents were a bit liberal, so they allowed her to engage herself in studies. As she advanced in age, she wrote to Veerasilingam desiring remarriage. He positively responded to her desire, and when she was 18-year-old, she was married to Uppuluri Venkateshwar Rao. This is brief account of Uppuluri Nagaratnamma. She founded the Kakinada Vidyarthini Samajamu and many other things, and she was a frequent contributor to the first women-edited women's journal, Hindu Sundari. I quote Uppuluri Nagaratnamma, Indians were more peaceful without facing any troubles during the British rule than the previous regimes ruled by Hindu and Muslim kings. Quote again, such a just rule had never been witnessed before, she stated firmly. For her, British rule was more benevolent and beneficent than the rule of the divine incarnations like Rama and Sri Krishna and Yudhishthira. Detailing the various benefits of British rule, she said that the British got canals dug and so many things. And I come to the last part of it. The British especially sympathized with the pitiable conditions of Hindu women, and to protect their independence, encouraged women's education and made laws banning sati and in favor of widow remarriage. Uppuduri Nagaratnamma was a first-hand gainer of British legislation in favor of the Widow Remarriage Act, because of which, coupled with the campaign of social reformers, she was able to marry. And therefore, we can say that she experienced firsthand the advantages which British rule gave to Indian women. The title of the essay in which she expressed all these things is Angleya Paripalanam Valane Labhamudu. It was published in Vivekavati, May 1912. We can simply dismiss that before the arrival of Gandhi on the scene of freedom struggle, women or men had such ideas. After 1920, such ideas could not be found. It is patently false because Hindu women continued to admire, of course, with a bit of restraint. They continued to admire British rule, and they really did not want it to go. Let us see what examples we can provide to establish this fact. This is the photograph of Uppuduri Nagaratnamma, published in Hindu Sundari, and I have given a biographical sketch of Uppuduri Nagaratnamma. There was another one, wife of the famous founder of the Andhra Patrika, Kashinathuni Ramabayamma, who was speaking at the 8th Andhra Mahila Mahasabha held in 1917. She said, women's education was revived during the British rule, and it was because of the blessings of, quote, the warm British rule that women could get the opportunity to assemble and discuss the issues for their development. Later, we have a few men like Madiraju Janaki Ramaiah, who held that the God on the earth was none else but the British government itself, which saved Indian or Hindu women by abolishing the practice of sati. We have another. For Tallapudi Venkataswamy Naidu, British rule meant liberation. It brought such happiness to Indians that they felt as happy as those who were released from the prisons. Yet another, which I did not include here, is the famous Bengaluru Nagaratnamma, who published Darbaru Padyamudu. And she wrote many other articles in praise of the British. But then, how did the scene change entirely in the 1920s? Is an important question that we need to ask. The shift from godlike British to Gandhi Avataram, that women began to hold, and rightly so. Only recently I heard that a temple for Gandhi was constructed in a remote village. So how Gandhi became an avatara, an incarnation himself. And here, Gandhi and avatara is not any other avatara or an extension of an avatara in the Kali Yuga. He was a different kind of avatara, which in the version of Darasi Annapurnamma, whom we have largely forgotten, she happens to be the first wife of Darshi Chanchaya. She has been forgotten so much so that she doesn't find a place in famous books on women's histories also. That you write so much on Darshi Chanchaya, and you imagine that Darsi Chanchaya had only one wife, and that is Darsi Subhadramma. But whereas Darsi Subhadramma happens to be Darsi Chanchaya's second wife, and the second marriage of Chanchaya was an intercaste marriage. Subhadramma was a Brahmin, and Chanchaya, quote unquote, an outcast Vaishya. Chanchaya also did a kind of disfavor to his first wife by not mentioning her many times in his autobiography, whereas he had all praises to his second Brahmin wife, Darsi Subhadramma. But he published separately on Annapurnamma. That's an entirely different story. Here, Darsi Annapurnamma, in her essay, Gandhi Avataram, an incarnation of Gandhi, Annapurnamma lived between 1907 and 1931, like Bhandaru Achamamba and Maganti Annapurna Devi. It is the misfortune of the Telugus that such relentless social and nationalist fighters should die so sharply. And Achamamba died when she was hardly 30 years. Annapurna Devi died when she was hardly 24 years. And this woman had to die within 24 hours. Annapurnamma wrote an essay, Gandhi Avataram. What did she say? The avatara of Gandhi was better than the avatars of Sri Rama and Sri Krishna. What Sri Rama and Sri Krishna did, she was bitterly critical of them. The two adopted violent means to conquer their enemies. But Gandhi, despite having been born in the Kali Yugam, used soul force. He had the moral courage to take up soul force through his two weapons of pen and the tongue to conquer the brute force of the British. Gandhi's was a spiritual power which defeated enemies and was sure to become successful. And surely the Gandhian avatara was better than the previous avatars of Rama and Krishna. I humbly request you to recall what Uppuduri Nagaratnamma said about the British. She said that British rule was much better than the rule of Rama and Sri Krishna and Yudhishthira. Here Darsi Annapurnamma is emphasizing, if you read her Telugu essay, it is such a passionate essay loaded with such Sanskritized phrases that you just can't resist reading the full essay. Here she is saying that Gandhi's avatara is much better than Rama. Means it's not a small thing for Hindus and also some syncretic-minded Muslims. And Sri Krishna is a household name. And here is a lady who is saying that Gandhi's avatara is much better than the avatars of Rama and Krishna, whom you adore from dawn to dusk. And it was definitely a kind of, I see that a kind of audacity is present in Darsi Annapurnamma. I have recently written a piece on Darsi Annapurnamma, Manam Marachina Annapurnamma, which is shortly to appear in Missimi. And now let us go to the pinnacle, the main point of our discussion. How strongly were Telugu women drawn towards the national movement? We answer this through the letters of Maganti Annapurna Devi, who, unlike Darsi Annapurnamma, is well remembered, especially because of textbook lessons for children. We find, when I was studying 9th class in 1991, there was a lesson on Maganti Annapurna Devi, how she contributed to the national movement. Unfortunately, our Telugu teacher was perhaps, I have never come across such a Telugu teacher in my life. So he made such a strong impression on our impressionable minds that Darsi Maganti Annapurna Devi's image simply refuses to go away from our mental frame. Now, as I informed you in the beginning itself, I would not be focusing on actions. I would be focusing the ideas which resulted in actions. Let us see what was there in the mind of Darsi Annapurna Devi, Maganti Annapurna Devi. Here, a small interruption. Maganti Annapurna Devi belongs to the dominant Kamma caste of coastal Andhra. She was born in Eluru, and her parents, Kalagara Pichamma and Kalagara Ramaswamy Chaudhary were reformist minded, and they, despite their financial constraints, they educated Maganti Annapurna Devi, sent her to Madras, Calcutta, Guntur, and many other places. Annapurna Devi's mother is especially to be remembered because she did not follow any kind of caste bar. And this she did much before Gandhian program of Harijan uplift and a kind of humanness towards the quote-unquote untouchables was to be shown. She bitterly criticized the Kakinada Vidyarthini Samajamu for having a baila that Chaturvarnyamudaloni Kulanganalellara. The phrase ran like that, and Kalagara Pichamma bitterly criticized that, no, you cannot have such a bylaw in your organization. And Maganti Annapurna Devi is the daughter of such a fine mother. Here, Annapurna Devi is writing letters to her husband, Maganti Bopinidu, who was abroad studying for an agricultural degree. She wrote, this letter is dated November 16, 1919. I'm really vexed living in Chataparru and wasting my life. I feel that I will be spoiling my life if I live at home for long. I'm seriously thinking of joining Gandhi's ashram. Once I decide, I pray to my parents to leave me to dedicate my life to motherland. My love, you please help me in this. I just do not want my life to be wasted. Yes, I will not allow it to happen. Please help me. Please do not reveal my plans of joining the ashram to anybody. I am very much worried about it. May God bless me, my beloved. Help me, help me, help me. This is how Annapurna Devi pleaded with her husband. Here you can find one expression, my love. Can any woman, modern woman of today, address his husband, Priya, Priyatama, Priyamaina, give me some name, Priyamaina Hussain? It becomes difficult. But in 1919, she's writing in public because there was an ideal that was coming up in colonial Andhra that husband and wife should be like friends, not only friends, they should be lovers. They should be like the English couple who would go for an evening walk, walking side by side, often holding their hands, which scene can only be witnessed in Telugu cinemas of today, and which parently definitely decry their young couple doing that. This expression is important, and I request you to remember this because this has further consequences for the national movement. Annapurna Devi's another letter. Nobody is above the nation, including me. Motherland first, all others next. This letter she wrote to her husband on 17 November 1920. Madam, how much time? 2 minutes. It's difficult, madam. 2 minutes mean I'll have to call my love at home. 2 minutes is difficult. 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes.
We say
as negotiation, democratic negotiation. So she said, do not forget the nation, even if you happen to forget me. Like this, she was repeatedly telling. She participated in the freedom movement. You can just look at the highlights. She burnt her wedding saree. How important is a wedding saree to a Hindu woman?
Okay.
But what she's saying here, she burnt all her 2,000 rupees worth sarees. She gave away all her jewelry when Gandhiji visited Pejawada, which we now call Vijayawada. She's writing to her husband, how does it matter even if it is a wedding saree? And she's also saying, I'm worried. Annapurna Devi unfortunately did not have good health. She lost her babies, and finally only one of her babies survived. She's writing, I'm worried that I'm unable to serve the nation more and more. I think how much more I would have offered to the nation had I been a millionaire, and feel sorry for not being that. So she wanted to donate everything to the nation, including her own life. So this was how this clearly establishes that Telugu women were so strongly drawn towards the national movement. So since I am asked to cut the presentation, I'll quickly go to some of the aspects which we normally do not find in nationalist historiography. Nationalist historiography does not want any kind of criticism by women to come to the fore. History writing, you know, is a battlefield. Different ideologies fiercely fight on this field, and the consequences are clearly observed in society. Annapurna Devi is criticizing about the representation of women in Congress. Representatives from Andhra were sent to be the All India Congress Committee. Only one woman, Ponaka Kanakamma from Nellore, was sent. Annapurna Devi came down heavily upon the decision of the Congress and says, how unfair men are. How unfair men are. She's saying that we are 50% of the population, or by statistics, we are more than that. Our representation should be more. But how come all men occupy all positions and only one woman is selected to represent the rest of all women? It clearly shows that men were unfair as they are today. And then Durgabai Deshmukh also, Durgabai Deshmukh, we all know, is a staunch nationalist. If you read her own autobiography or Neti Sita Devi's biography of Durgabai, you will find how strongly nationalist she was. Durgabai Deshmukh also criticized the Congress men. The Congress government at Madras, headed by Tanguturi Prakasham Pantulu, and she clearly said that there should be a women's ministry. 2 minutes. Okay, now I do not go what Goparaju Sita Devi said, what Andhra Mahila commented on congressmen. This I want to highlight. That is how Saraswati cursed the men of Kali Yugam. Saraswati, largely forgotten again, she said that men have been talking about freedom, but they are not giving freedom to us. Because you are not giving freedom to us, you are not getting freedom from foreign country, from foreign domination. If at all you want to get freedom, you first grant freedom to us. Without that, she cursed. The curse I gave, and the curse continuous also I gave. This, she said here, if man wishes to regain the lost glory and attain independence from colonial domination, he should give independence to women first. If he gives independence to women, God will grant him independence. If he does not, God will not grant him independence. This is certain. She wrote in Telugu, "Idi mummatikinism." And then whose dominance to end first? The chief theme of my paper. There were some women who said that colonial dominance should go, but Saraswati, Maganti Annapurna Devi, and most especially Dr. Komaraju Achamamba, daughter of the tall Telugu intellectual Komaraju Venkat Lakshmana Rao, she said that the first independence should be of women. National independence may follow. This is what she said. She said, before demanding the freedom of our country, we should free ourselves from male domination. Then, were women apprehensive of men's motives from the beginning? They thought that from the beginning, women are not going to support us, men will cheat us. And this was proved. We had to postpone the various rights in the name of Hindu Civil Code, which was also contested and finally passed. Gadicherla Ramabai, wife of Gadicherla Harisarvottam Rao, she pointed this out. And finally, this question: what is the use of ending male domination when our own people, when our own race dominates its own people, down with female patriarchs? So there were three layers. One wanted domination, liberation from colonial domination. The other section wanted liberation from male domination. And here is the third section, which wants liberation from female patriarchs. So who are the female patriarchs? They expressed in Telugu, Adabidda Ardhamagudu. What you say, Adabidda, sister-in-law is half husband. And then they also said, heaven is that place where mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law are not found. Swargam anedi edante akkada atta aadabidda aadapaduchu undakudadu. These things, these voices were expressed by Telugu women during the 1930s and 1940s. I profusely thank the organizers, especially the chairperson, for giving me a bit more time, and also the audience for a patient listening. Any doubts we can take up in the question answer session. Thank you very much. Namaste to all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahbub Bashar. Now I request Dr. A. Raghukumar, Senior Advocate, Telangana High Court, Hyderabad, and the topic, Darsi Chanchaya, an unsung hero of struggle for independence.
1 minute time to go.
First of all, let me thank Dr. Ambedkar Open University and the Department of History for giving this opportunity to me. As an advocate practicing in courts of law, we can argue a case for days together, hours together, and also cut short the argument if necessary within minutes.
Exactly.
So these are all the two arts which we learn in our life. Today, I'm actually supposed to present one wonderful person in the Indian freedom movement, Darsi Chanchaya. Darsi Chanchaya, understanding Darsi Chanchaya, basically, we just have to refer back to one article written by Lenin as early as in 1908. That article is titled Tolstoy, the Mirror of Russian Revolution. Actually, Tolstoy has nothing to do with the Russian Revolution. He has never participated in the Russian Revolution. He was a non-violent personality. He was preaching non-violence, and he was talking about something called as the kingdom of God is within you. So how could Lenin compare Tolstoy as the mirror of the Russian Revolution is a wonderful question, where he says that to identify the great artist with the revolution, which he has obviously failed to understand, and from which he obviously stands aloof, may at first sight seem absolutely incorrect and artificial. And at the end of it, he says that Tolstoy reflected the pent-up hatred, the ripened striving for a better lot, the desire to get rid of the past, and the immature dreaming, the political inexperience, and the revolutionary flabbiness. This is what ultimately Lenin concludes. See the life of Darsi Chanchaya. If I can say that Indian freedom movement can be imagined as a human being, and if somebody wants to write biography of Indian freedom movement, you will find all the phases available in the Indian freedom movement within the life of Darsi Chanchaya. Within one life of Darsi Chanchaya, you can find all the 4 important phases of freedom movement. Born in 1890 in a remote village in Nellore, now in Prakasam district, he went to America to study agricultural studies. See, in 1912, by that time he was 22 years young. But he went to Berkeley to join California University. He directly went to Hardayal Singh's hostel. there is a missing area. Darshi Chanchaya is born in a Vaishya community. Vaishya community in the caste understanding was always considered as a covered community, covered caste, and a caste which is more interested in earning profits. So this is a community which at that time, in the environment of the beginning of the 20th century, people used to call that you are a coward and you are always profit oriented. So where is the question of you are challenging the British? Technically, it is not possible. So right from the childhood, Chanchaya developed a mindset that he must have a strong body. He must always live like a warrior. He must always learn all martial arts. So this was the dream, and moreover, he was seeing that the Tahsildars of that British period were dominating every caste. He was very much worried, very much surprised also to know that even the Brahmin is bowing down before the Tahsildar. That means Tahsildar must be a greater man than the Brahmin, who is the topmost in the caste hierarchy. So his idea was to become a Tahsildar and to dominate the society. At the same time, to come out of the caste constraints of cowardice and also the physical incapacity, and to sacrifice, learn the art of sacrifice. So when he went to America, he directly went to Hardayal Singh's hostel. And in 1912, he went to America. In 1913, Ghadar Party was formed. And he was the founder member of the Ghadar Party. The only Telugu man who is a founder member of the Ghadar Party. This is one of the most important contributions of Darshi Chanchaya. So what is this Ghadar? Ghadar is something like a reflection of 1857 War of Independence. Ghadar Party has no specific philosophy of its own, excepting revolution, mutiny. What's called as liberating India through armed forces, accepting that it has no other what's called as philosophical what's called as basis. It has learned from anarchists. It has learned something from warriors. It has learned something from Veer Savarkar's 1870s book on the First War of Independence. So it was a conglomeration of ideas. He came back. In fact, in 1913, the Ghadar Party thought that first they had to liberate Kashmir. And for that, they planned huge ammunition. With the help of America, they wanted to travel in a ship, but were caught in between. And then onwards, from 1914 to 1919, he spends his life in jail as a political detainee, the first ever political detainee in India. The first ever political detainee. This is the first phase of his life from 1890 when he was born. By 1919, the first phase of his life ends. He comes out and he sees a different world. By that time, Gandhi entered, the movement has become a highly, what's called as a people's movement. So he was unable to actually join the freedom movement. He never joined directly in the freedom movement, but he was always working for the freedom movement along with his wife, the first wife Annapurnamma and also the second wife Subhadramma. Both were prominent leaders in the Congress party in various ways. But Darshi Chanchaya was not directly a member of the Congress party. From 1919 to 1935, this is the second phase of his life where he was doing more work for social reform. He was trying to reform his own caste first. He wanted them to learn modern education. He wanted them to learn what's called as go beyond caste narratives. And he was trying to participate in the social reform of other communities, like say, Bogam Strilu, for their upliftment. He went even to uplift the Kamma community, which was considered to be more advanced by that time, but he joined the reform movement of the Kammas, and he joined the reform movement of other communities, such as, say, for example, Vishwa Brahmana. And these are all the works he has done for more than from 1919 to 1935. Again, at somewhere around 1936-1937, he has become another, once again, he was jailed. And during that period, he was a close associate of communists. He was influenced by Chandrayeshwar Rao. He was influenced by Dr. K.V. Krishna. He was influenced by all the communist philosophies. He started learning about communism. See, he was a Gadar party member. He was a social reformer and an indirect member of the Congress movement for freedom. He is now a communist. And in the process of being a communist, from 1935-36 to up to 1948, for some time, he was again arrested. He was jailed during the Quit India movement and was released at the beginning of the Quit India movement to somewhere in June 1942. And again, he starts working in the trade unions. He has become one of the greatest trade union leaders in Madras. He organized not less than 4 or 5 important struggles, trade union movement struggles. And again, he becomes the victim of the state. So, whatever the freedom movement was undergoing changes, you will find in the life of Darshi Chanchaya. Darshi Chanchaya has to be remembered not as a great freedom struggle, but if you read Darshi Chanchaya's life, you will find all the important stages, important phenomena, important reflections of the freedom movement in the single life of Darshi Chanchaya. In reforming women, in forming schools for destitutes, girls, remarriage, widow remarriages, and he undergoes the influence of Kandukuri Veeraselingam Padru. So the whole of the Indian nation, mood of the Indian nation from 1857 to 1947, if you consider as one, the life journey of an individual, you can see everything in Darshi Chanchaya. And again, somewhere around 1948, he becomes dejected with everything, including communist movement. And then he starts reflecting on everything. This is between 1951 to 52. As a process of his reflections, he wrote this book called as Nenu Na Desham, his autobiography. One of the finest, what's called as, I could say there are so many autobiographies. It's not that autobiographies are not known to us, but highly reflective autobiography, where things went wrong. After coming out of the Gadar movement, when working along with his wife in the freedom movement, he thinks where Gadar movement went wrong. After coming out of the freedom movement and Gandhi's influence, becoming a communist, he again starts thinking, reflecting upon where the Congress movement has gone wrong. And again, after coming out of the communist era, he again starts thinking where communist movement went wrong. And you will find in the autobiography of Darshi Chanchaya all these reflections. This is where I want to say that Darshi Chanchaya is the mirror of Indian freedom movement. Just like as Lenin has said, Tolstoy is the mirror of the Russian Revolution. In the similar way, Darshi Chanchaya is the mirror of the Indian freedom movement, for which I titled this article, Darshi Chanchaya, a biography of Indian freedom movement. If a biography of Indian freedom movement can be imagined, it is Darshi Chanchaya. And ultimately, what I would like to, I will not, because if necessary, I will cut short my time also, because I could understand the tremendous pressure in the minds of in the faces of the organizers. Yes, it's true. It happens. I just read out my last para. Who is Chanchaya ultimately? A revolutionary freedom fighter. The only Telugu man who was a founder member of the Gadar party, an anarchist. He was the one influenced by Bakunin also for some time. A Gandhian, a communist, a cultural activist in the progressive movements, a social reformer in the nature of Kadukuri, a highly self-reflective activist, a good and model husband, a model father, or everything and nothing. His was a life of restless questions, unending actions, and seamless changes. A person obsessed with masculinity, heroism, physical fitness, a warrior quality. The greatest beauty of his entire life had been his reflective mood about the mistakes he committed during the previous phases, while retaining the zeal, enthusiasm, and aggression of a young mind all through. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir.
This is the book which we have released recently on receiving various articles from various authors on Darshi Chanchaya. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am giving 2 copies to our library.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Seminar Director, Professor Sudharani, Director, GRCR&D, and today's presenters, Professor Sheikh Mahbub Pasha and Dr. A. Raghu Kumar, and dignitaries of the dais, and Professor Adapa Garu. Actually, we are running behind the time, and valedictory function will soon be held within 1 or 2 minutes. Director of the seminar requested me to wind up within 1 or 2 minutes. That's why I won't take a lot of time. Today we are celebrating our Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav se Swarnim Bharat ki Vor. Swarnim Bharat ki Vor, it is written here, but we are going to Sampanna Bharat ki Vor. And this seminar theme is exploring the contributions of the unsung warriors in freedom struggle, contemporary relevance. And Dr. Mahbub Bacha has raised so many questions, and he has shared his views on whose dominance must end first, feminism or nationalism, and the colonial Telugu women's journals. And he has took so many names of the journals like Hindu Sundari, Vivekavati, Ansuya, Gri Lakshmi, and so on. And sir, we are really delighted by your views and that. Although you have taken a lot of time, but no problem.
My apologies.
No, because we have started late also, it's not your problem. And Dr. A. Raghuram Kumarji, thank you so much for considering us, and you have took very little time, even though you have deliberated so many things and new views also regarding Darshi Chanchaya, an unsung hero of struggle for independence. And from 1870s to 1950, you have told about everything about this Darshi Chanchaya and all. He is the really unsung hero of the freedom struggle, sir. Thank you so much. And we will take your book also, sir, and I will prescribe for the library also. Thank you very much. Dr. Chandrakala, will you report something? No. Okay. Thank you so much. And we will start our valedictory program. Thank you so much.
Madam.
And the library in charge also. Acha, felicitation.
I never accept felicitations.
Srinivas waiting for
Felicitations. Long time.
This is our formal. Really, sir, sorry, sir, we couldn't give you a lot of time because you said that you are seeing our attention on our faces.
Struggling hard.
To me also, if I need something, this one like. Sir, you this is for library copy, so that I will put it in the reference section. Please, Chairman, Madam. Madam, we are on time, no, madam. Yeah. I will. Please come to the. Thanks. This is my last presentation from my dear friend. Thank you. 1 minute. Thank you. Come on.
Age matters.
Madam.
నేను వస్తామని చెప్తున్నా. My young little brother, he is making a big name in academic circle. I wish him all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Shakila ji, for very ably conducting on time. Thank you so much, all the resource person, Ravi Kumar ji and Mahmood Basha for being with us, giving excellent inputs on this session. We are just starting the valedictory session. Guests are already there. So we are, in a minute, we are here with you, in front of you.
The Andhra Pradesh Open University is the first open university in the country established by an act of the Andhra Pradesh State Legislature in 1982. The Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Sri Bhavanam Venkatram, and the Education Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Sri K. Keshav Rao, are instrumental to set up this university. The university was inaugurated by the President of India, Sri Gyani Jail Singh, on August 26, 1982. The dawn of distance education in India, a dedicated institution builder and a great visionary, Professor G. Ram Reddy has introduced the concept of distance education to democratize higher education in India. It is he who strived hard to bring legitimacy to the stream of distance higher education in the country, both as the founder Vice Chancellor of Andhra Pradesh Open University, Hyderabad, the first open university in the country, and as the founder Vice Chancellor of National Open University in the country, the Indira Gandhi National Open University, IGNOU, New Delhi. The foundation stone for the buildings was laid by Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, Vice President of India, on July 2, 1988. Speaking on the occasion, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Sri Nandamuri Taraka Rama Rao said,
విద్యా బోధన జరుగుతుంది కాబట్టి ఏమాత్రం పైసా ఖర్చు లేకుండా ఎక్కడో దూరంగా వెళ్ళి హాస్టల్లో ఉండకుండా వారింట్లో ఉండి వారి పాఠాలను తీసుకుని పూర్తిగా అలా ఇక్కడి నుంచి కనుక ఆ క్యాసెట్స్ పంపిస్తే ఎక్కడో పక్కన ఇంటి వారి టీవీలోనైనా సరే క్యాసెట్లు వేసుకుని పూర్తిగా విద్యా విధానాన్ని అవలంబించే అవకాశం ఉంటుంది.
The government of Andhra Pradesh rechristened AP Open University as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University in 1991 to commemorate the centenary celebrations of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the architect of Indian Constitution. The site is surrounded by hillocks and Durgam Cheruvu Lake. The hillocks were molded into beautiful structures for the empowerment of underprivileged sections of the people. It took almost 4 years to complete the university buildings, and it was inaugurated by the Prime Minister of India, Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao, on 31st August 1994.
The Open University system as a system, the curiosity about the system, the desire to learn about the system, to examine it, to get into details, all this was done in Andhra Pradesh even before 1982. 82 was the culmination of all this effort, the culmination of all these trials and tribulations, and because it was the first university, it has a first to its credit.
The university housed its buildings of administration and student support services, academic, Center for Staff Training and Development, Audiovisual Production and Library, Study Material House, Material Production Center, Science and Technology Multifunctional Laboratory, SICA. For the convenience of students, the university has made its efforts to set up State Bank of India and Post Office on its premises. The successive Vice Chancellors of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, Professor G. Ram Reddy, Professor C. Narayan Reddy, Professor R.V.R. Chandrasekhar Rao, Professor S. Bashiruddin, Professor Afzal Muhammad, Professor V.S. Prasad, Professor D. Ramchandram, Professor O.R. Reddy and Dr. P. Prakash made outstanding contribution for establishing the credentials of the university.
The only path of Dharma will provide us the highest form of wealth. The highest form of wealth, in my opinion, is knowledge and awareness about the society and serving the society.
The open learning system provides an opportunity to majority of the unrated sections of people, that is, skilled and unskilled workers, housewives, jawans, prison inmates, and all those who could not be accommodated under conventional system. The system makes learning while earning possible. The university functions through a network of study centers spread across the two states, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, where delivery services are provided to the students. These study centers are located by and large in government and government-aided colleges. The university, which started functioning with 26 study centers in 1983-84, increased its number to 176, widening the access to higher education to more number of people. It's a great pleasure to note that the university joined the family of mega universities, that is, those universities whose enrollment in a year is 1 lakh and above during 1999-2000 for the first time and continued to enjoy this status ever since. As means of reaching out the unreached, the open learning system envisages the innovating teaching learning methodologies. Realizing the importance of electronic media, the university established the Audiovisual Production and Research Center, AVP&RC, in 1986. The center has a sound and TV studios for producing radio and TV programs in coordination with academic faculty. The center also organizes the transmission of the programs by coordinating with the public service broadcasting agencies like All India Radio and Doordarshan Kendra. The university has been utilizing the transmission slot allocated on the KU band network. It is heartening to note that the university puts the learners first with the motto of education for all to establish an egalitarian society, which is the vision of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar.
Hold on a minute.
Welcome to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, Hyderabad. Today we embark on a captivating journey through the illustrious history and extraordinary accomplishments of this esteemed institution. The Andhra Pradesh Open University holds the distinction of being the first open university established in India in 1982 by an act of the Andhra Pradesh State Legislature. The visionaries behind this educational endeavor were the then Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Sri Pavanam Venkatram, and the then Education Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Sri K. Keshavarao. Inaugurated by the former President of India, Sri Gyani Jail Singh, on August 26, 1982, the university set out to revolutionize higher education by embracing distance education. Professor G. Ram Reddy, a dedicated institution builder and visionary, introduced the concept of distance education to democratize higher education in India. As the founder Vice Chancellor of Andhra Pradesh Open University and the Indira Gandhi National Open University, IGNOU, he played a pivotal role in legitimizing distance higher education in the country. The foundation stone for the buildings of the university was laid by Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, former Vice President of India, on July 2, 1988, on the panoramic site of Jubilee Hills. Speaking on this occasion, the then Chief Minister, Sri Nandamuri Taraka Rama Rao, said,
ఈ సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం ఉందంటే ఇక్కడికి రావాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు, క్లాసు రూముల్లో కూర్చోవలసిన అవసరం లేదు, వారు కేవలం వారి విలువైన కాలాన్ని ఇక్కడ వెచ్చించవలసిన అవసరం లేదు. ఉత్సాహం మాత్రం ఉంటే, విద్య అభిలషించాలని కోరిక ఉంటే ఇంట్లో ఉండి నేర్చుకోవచ్చు. పేదవారు కూడా కేవలం విద్యా బోధన జరుగుతుంది. కాబట్టి ఏమాత్రం పైసా ఖర్చు లేకుండా, ఎక్కడో దూరంగా వెళ్ళి హాస్టల్లో ఉండకుండా వారింట్లో ఉండి వారి పాఠాలను తీసుకుని పూర్తిగా ఇక్కడి నుంచి కనుక క్యాసెట్స్ పంపిస్తే ఎక్కడో పక్కన ఇంటి వారి టీవీలోనైనా సరే క్యాసెట్లు వేసుకుని పూర్తిగా విద్యా విధానాన్ని అవలంబించే అవకాశం ఉంటుంది.
The university was renamed as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University in 1991 to commemorate the centenary celebrations of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the architect of Indian Constitution. Situated amidst the serene surroundings of hillock and Durgam Cheruvu Lake, the university's buildings were constructed for providing higher educational opportunities to marginalized and underprivileged sections of the society. The buildings were inaugurated by the then Prime Minister of India, Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao, on 31st August 1994.
The studies about Open University, the Open University system as a system, the curiosity about the system, the desire to learn about the system, to examine it, to get into details, all this was done in Andhra Pradesh even before 1982. 82 was the culmination of all this effort, the culmination of all these trials and tribulations, and because it was the first university, it has a first to its credit, but to the credit of Andhra Pradesh goes the entire hard work that went into the making of an open university.
Boasting various branches like administration and learner support services, academic, Center for Staff Training and Development, Professor G. Ramareddy Center for Research and Development, Center for Internal Quality Assurance, Electronic Media Resources and Research Center.
Good afternoon, all the invitees and guests for today's valedictory session of today's national seminar on exploring the contribution of the unsung warriors in freedom struggle, contemporary relevance, organized by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University and Professor G. Ramareddy Center for Research and Development, GRCR&D, and ICSSR SRC, in collaboration with financial support by co-sponsored by SBI Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University branch. It is my proud privilege to welcome all our guests and invitees for today's valedictory program. May I now welcome today's chief guest, Professor Ismat Mehdi, former head Department Arabic, CFL, presently IFLO. May I welcome you, madam? Kindly come on to the stage and occupy the chair. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Now I welcome today's president of the function and our honorable vice chancellor, Professor K. Sitharama Rao Garu. And also I welcome today's guest of honor, Professor Kaushal Jabin, madam, former head Department of Political Science, Usmania University. Please come on to the stage and occupy the chair, madam. Also, I welcome Professor Rabba Satyanarayan Garu, former head Department of History. Kindly come on to the stage and occupy the chair, sir. Also, I welcome today's guest of honor, Dr. A.B.R. Reddy Garu, or Honorable Registrar. Please come on to the stage, sir. It's my proud privilege to welcome our GRCRD Director, Professor E. Sudharani Garu. Madam, please come on to the stage. And also I recognize and I welcome all the directors, deans, heads of the branches, representatives of various service associations, and members of teaching and non-teaching fraternity. Now I welcome Professor Shakila Khanum Garu. Kindly present a flower bouquet to today's chief guest. Please, Madam, Professor Shakila Khanum.
Yashwant's bag. After a long time, I'm giving sir.
Request Dr. Renuka, Madam.
You're the. Thank you.
Present a flower bouquet to Kausar Jabin, Madam. Professor Kausar Jabin.
Raju.
Thank you, ma'am. I request Dr. Kanakadurga Garu kindly present a flower bouquet to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor K. Sitaram Rao. I request Dr. Dayakar. Dr. Dayakar Garu kindly present a flower bouquet to Professor Adapa Satyanarayana Garu. Next, Dr. Aruna, Madam. Present a bouquet to our registrar, sir. I request Sunil Potra Garu kindly present a flower bouquet to Professor Sudharani, Madam. First, Sunil. Thank you very much. Yeah. Now I request Professor K. Sitaram Rao Garu, today's president of the function, and our Honorable Vice Chancellor Garu, kindly conduct the further proceedings. Thank you very much.
So, now we have come to the ending of this program today. Today's national seminar on very interesting topic of the relevant to present context also, exploring the contributions of unsung warriors in freedom struggle and contemporary relevance. It has started with in a wonderful way. And the guests who have participated in the inaugural function also gave a very valid and thought-provoking ideas. How best we can make this topic can be contextualized with the present situation, and also how best we can learn and expand the core values of freedom struggle and Indian Constitution in the present day society. From the point of view of both the relevance of its research in the contemporary situation, and yesterday Chief Guest also told very clearly that history is in making. Continuously it will open up. Many aspects will come out as we do and as we probe into the various aspects of the history from the present day context. So because this is the reason we have to explore the possibilities and also we have to how best we can make the relevance of these core values to the present day context. So these are the two important dimensions. These are the two important aspects or objectives, I can say, are made this program more contextual and more relevant and more important to the present day situation. So we always try to make a dialogue with the history, with the past, with the objective that how best we can learn from our earlier civilizational experience and how we don't commit mistakes again and again to not to do that. So that is the purpose to learn from the history. So this is the thing. From this point of view, we thought that this topic is most relevant and very rightly and appropriately the funding agencies have also come forward, especially Indian Council of Social Science Research, our Southern Regional branch, and also our university, and then SBI of our branch also came to our rescue to organize this program. They've extended their wholehearted support and cooperation and in all aspects and in all respects. This program is further enriched by the participation of the artists from the Prasiddha Foundation, which they have made, they have developed a documentary drama on the unsung warriors, which was very attractive and very inspiring. Not only inspiring, really, we have excited by the performance of the most committed and senior artists whom they have a lot of popularity, not only in India and in the entire world also. So these are the best aspects of this program, and which we have recorded also and made available in YouTube, and anybody can watch anytime, whenever they want. That facility is improving because of the integration of ICT into our learning process, blended learning process. So, I don't want to take much of your time. So I have one more program at about 2:30 in Government City College. So we will try to discuss and understand we are very much interested to listen to our senior professors who have a lot of experience not only in their subjects and also about the society, freedom struggle, and the values of freedom struggle in those days and all that. Really, we are very much interested to listen to them. So with this brief opening remarks, now I request Dr. Sudharani to give a brief report, a valedictory report on the seminar held. Yeah, and also she will introduce the guests of today's valedictory function, both Professor Kausar Azam Madam and also Professor Ismat Mehdi Madam. Really, they are not only wonderful in their academics and also people with most democratic and liberal ideas in those days, especially Professor Kausar Azam Madam, known to me a long time, and indirectly she was my teacher also. With all respects, I welcome once again both of them on my personal behalf and also on behalf of our university to this valedictory function. Thank you, Madam. for accepting our invitation and coming over here. Now I request Professor Sudharani to give a brief report and introduce the guests to the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
A very warm welcome to this end of the international event on exploring the contributions of the unsung barriers of India's struggle for freedom and its relevance to the present day context. So, respected chief guest of today's event, Professor Kismat Mehdi Madam, writer, independent legal service professional. She was also a professor in Arabic from then CIFL and French too at CIFL, and now it is known as the IFLO. And our esteemed guest of honor, Professor Kausar Javeen Ma'am, former head Department of Political Science, Osman University, Hyderabad. And our esteemed guest of honor, A.V. Reddy, and our learned and intellectual doyen of history, the valedictory addressee, Professor Adapa Sachinan sir, former head Department of History, Osman University. And our Vice Chancellor is being very kind enough to be with us in spite of his busy schedule. And he readily accepted to preside over this session also. And respected guests of the dais, directors and deans and faculty, non-teaching association, teaching, non-teaching faculty members, research scholars, and dear friends. So this comes to an end. All the things should come to an end sometimes. So we are come to an end of this today event, which has been well planned, but the kind of enthusiasm we conducted, we thought that, you know, this will be a source of the literature on freedom movement, as well as to conscientize our scholars about the legacy and spirit of the freedom movement, and also to carry the legacy of secularism and democracy and the values which we have inherited from freedom struggle, which culminated into the Indian Constitution, and then seen in the way of the welfare policies of the government, central government and the state government respectively. So as citizens of India, what is our responsibility to be a kind of, you know, throw some lights. And our Vice Chancellor sir is telling about E.H. Carr's definition of history is an unending dialogue between the past and the present. And it's also a dialogue between the historian and his facts. The historian has to find the facts which are hidden, which are not being brought to light by the earlier scholars. They have done their mind, but they have not, most of them, they have done in the mainstream, the main leaders of the freedom movement. As enunciated by the guest inaugural session, it is a pertinent issue now. It is where the need of the hour is to bring out that unearthing the unsung, unheard voices of the leaders of the freedom movement who sacrificed their lives and made their contribution to the Indian struggle, where we are enjoying the freedom now. And the government has given a call on the completion of the 75 years of independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. But that kind of a thing that, you know, though sometimes some occasions like this comes and goes, but the spirit behind is to bring out the marginalized, who was forgotten in the history, the pages of history. They have to be brought back to the history. This is the aim of the seminar, which we thought I invited the scholars, eminent scholars, to talk on the topics, and which we have done. I think we have done justice to it by to a larger extent within the limited space of 2 days. And the inaugural was highly inspirational. And Vani Devi Madam talked about how this kind of, you know, seminars will help in finding out the contributions of the unheard voices of the national leaders. So she says that, you know, searching and going for the sources, how she had begun her research. She told about her own experience, being the daughter of a great political leader and the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, P.V. Narasimha Rao sir. How she gathered information. She used to observe the national leaders in their house and how she got inspired. That was very inspirational story from her. In the keynote address, Rama Malkote Madam, she's an excellent teacher and an activist too for democratic rights and people's rights and women's rights precisely. We worked together in the Anveshi group, and as well as she developed our PG Diploma in Women's Studies course also here, Rama Madam. We worked with the Anveshi team for developing this course. She was of the opinion, she talked about the Shoaibullah Khan and how she has seen him from the very close corner and how he used to write against the government and write against the British in the early days. So this kind of democratic voices, how they were crushed, she has explained very well. And she tells that, the marginality, the marginalized sections of the people, the Dalits, the tribals, the women, they have not found enough democratic space in the mainstream writings. So she tells that there's a pertinent need to fill the gap. So the sessions began with several inputs given by the scholars, and our Vice Chancellor sir rightly talked about the need of the history today, how to look into this aspect of freedom and how to take it forward further. And Ajitam Sridhar also talked about the sources, like, as a researcher, as an unending dialogue or finding or in searching for facts, we have to go to the people because people's history has to be written. So he talked about how he used to rebuild the forgotten heroes and leaders of that time. So Avian Reddy also talked about, like, our registrar, he gave a complete picture of what is the contextual need of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in this seminar. And the first session and the second and third sessions have been clubbed together and chaired by Professor Adapa Satyanarayana sir. He very well conducted the seminar. And in that, we had Professor Bukya Bangia, professor from Department of History, University of Hyderabad. He spoke on Adivasi nationalism, Komram Bhimu's movement in Adilabad, the Jodingar movement, Jal Jangal Jameen. So the Adivasis' rights over their land, their forest, and Jal water. And also these three essential things which have been deprived by the British imperialism as well as the that time rulers of this Hyderabad state. So he fought against precisely for freedom. And he spoke about how this Gond nationalism or the Adivasi nationalism is different from the others. Like, how the freedom in this inverted commas, we can't restrict it to certain isms, but freedom is a larger connotation which has to be dealt from the people's perspective, from the history, from the below. So where this session was discussant was Srinivas Vardanam, and two more persons, resource persons, Jarina Parvinji. We specifically requested her to, most of the scholars are working on the freedom movement. They're not aware of the sources where they get it, the confidential reports or the files, freedom movement files, and the files of the freedom struggle leaders. They are very much preserved in archives. So she spoke about the sources to be contacted, and very well brought about the leaders of the freedom movement in Hyderabad. T. Vivek Garu, Telangana Council of Historical Research, former member TSPS, he spoke about the unsung heroes of Hyderabad. He brought out so many persons who were very active but were not much talked about. So on the second day, today, we had resource persons in the evening. Sir explained everything. A spectacular program of the various artists, the 7 art forms of Kathak, Mohiniyattam, the Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, and the Kshatriya dance of form, Odissi, and the contemporary dance. 7 dance art forms by 7 gurus all over India, right from Trivandrum to New Delhi and Assam. So they came here to our university. We are very fortunate to witness their marvelous performance yesterday. And university history, it will remain in university's history, as well said by our Vice Chancellor, esteemed Vice Chancellor. And they're also very happy to meet all the scholars and research scholars here. And after the performance, today's event, the second day, we had the sessions chaired by Shakila Khananji, the Dean Faculty of Social Sciences, and Sheikh Mahmood Basha from Maulana Azad National University. He spoke on retrieving Andhra women's participation national movement. His topic needs an entire day to be discussed because he has researched on various aspects of the women who perceived what is the freedom to them. This is very important. The freedom to them is freedom from the bondage of the liberation from the restrictions and the societal norms, marginality which has been imposed on them. So they say that deal with this freedom and then you can deal with that national movement. So he has cited several leaders and gave examples of how they perceive this. And Dr. A. Raghukumar, he spoke on Darsi Chanchaya, an unsung hero of struggle for independence. Darsi Chanchaya was the leader of the Gadar movement, and he worked outside India also. Like he gathered as in the group, and they have fought against the Britishers, imperialism, and took out several activities which the Gadar movement was quite significant in Indian struggle for independence. And after coming back also, he has worked with extensively for the freedom. So these are the sessions, madam, for your kind information, because Ismat Mirji and Kausar ji was asking about what were the topics discussed. I thought that this will give an idea to them. After submitting my brief report, it's my pleasant privilege to introduce the great personalities on the dais. I introduce Ismat Mehdi Madam. Professor Ismat Mehdi Madam had her early schooling in Hyderabad, India. First, let me tell that, she is a niece of Abid Hassan Safrani ji, who was a close friend and associate in the Indian National Army of Subhash Chandra Bose. Give her a big applause because she comes from a family of a person who's contributed a lot to the Indian national movement. Professor Ismat ji studied in French in University of Geneva and University of Poitiers, German Goethe Institute, Munich, and Arabic in the College of Arts and Science, Baghdad. She continued her university education in Osmania University, obtained her BA, MA, PhD degrees, taught this language in Osmania University, Hyderabad since 1962 to 7, worked as a supervisor, Arabic service, external services division, All India Radio, New Delhi from 1973 to 74. Joined the Central Institute of English, CFL, IFLO now, Hyderabad as Department of Arabic lecturer, reader then professor till 2000. From 91 to 95, deputed to the Embassy of India, Cairo, Egypt, as the first secretary to culture and director of Maulana Azad Center for Indian Culture. She was a visiting professor of University of Pavia, Italy, from 2008 to 2010. She was a guest faculty member English and Foreign Languages, University of Hyderabad, 2010, and still continuing. Arabic Board, University of Kalaburgi, Gulbarga. She was written widely on Arabic language and literature, history and Sufism, history and culture of Hyderabad. Her latest book is Abid Hassan Safrani, Netaji's Comrade in Arms, published by Orient Black Swan. Very recently, Manthan conducted the book release of this event. Managing Trustee of Sarvodaya International Trust, Telangana, AP chapter. And to propagate the ideas and values of Mahatma Gandhi among the youth. Started in 99, continue, involved in interfaith dialogue and has been a Muslim member of team from India to United States Presbyterian Meets 2002-4. Invited by Ministry of Culture, Algeria, as a delegate from India to attend to Symposium on Sufism in 2010 and 2011. Invited by Ministry of Culture, Reunion Island, to join the program on Deepavali, Andhra and Andhra Audeladu. Is that correct, madam? Audeladu Kamthoya. Yeah. To lecture on Gandhi. La Pensi du Mahatma. And it's very difficult to pronounce. Andhra received the President of India's Award for Scholarship in Arabic 2004. Babu Khan Award for Lifetime Achievement 2010. All India Arabic Teachers Award in 2013. Cultural and social organizations. She's associated with several organizations. Been President of Poetry Society, President of Hyderabad Deccan Association, enrichment lecturer following the Cruises, Radisson Cruise song of Flow Now, 1919, Seaborn Odyssey, November 2013, Holland America Line, Rotterdam, Jan, Feb 2014, Holland America Line in Amsterdam, and 2015, Silver Sea, Silver Cloud. These are all the cruise. No, I've come to it. This is the marvelous, and I'm really inspired by the magnificent personality of Ismaji, and we are fortunate to have you, ma'am, or as our esteemed guest. Professor Kausar Azamji, a very sweet and, she's been a very inspiring lecturer at the time of our Vice Chancellor, Sita Ramarao sir. He used to come from all the way from Kakatiya University to listen to the lectures of Madam Ji. He was telling that. Professor Kausar Ji has a distinguished career with several national recognitions, international awards, academic assignments, and teaching responsibilities in India and abroad. She served as a senior academic fellow in social sciences at American Studies Research Center at Hyderabad from 1995 to 2000, a recipient of research associateship at Department of Political Science at Birmingham University, UK, postdoctoral Ford ACDIS Fellowship 90, Senior Fulbright Fellowship 94-95 at the University of Illinois, and at Urbana Campaign, Rockefeller Foundation Fellowship 1919, Fulbright Visiting Specialist Award under the special program Direct Access to Muslim World at the University of Iowa, 2005. Ajamji had a distinction of being plenary speaker at various sessions of International American Studies Association at University of Leiden, Amsterdam, 2003. Being a member of the International Committee of American Studies Association, USA for 3 years. Apart from holding different positions as Department of Political Science, OU, she served as a Director, Southern Regional Center of ICSSR 2001-3, member AP Public Service Commission 3-5. She taught, lectured several centers of higher learning, including those at New York, Kathmandu, Mauritius, Colombo, Moscow, Houston, Beirut, Brindisi, Italy, Leiden, Amsterdam, Nichire, Brazil, at Oxford University, UK. She has authored several books. National Integration in India, 1990. In India's Defense Policy for 90s. Economic Liberalism in India. Federalism and the Good Governance. Discourse in Trust, Ethnicity, Identity, and State in South Asia. Rediscovering America. American Studies in New Century, 2000. Conflicting Ethnicities. Locating the Local and the Global in 2013. India and the World Affairs in Next Decade, 2016. Languages and Literary Cultures in Hyderabad, 2017. And Indian Ocean, the New Frontier, 19. So she has been awarded UGC Emeritus Fellowship for her research, Ethnicity, Identity, and State in South Asia. We are very glad, ma'am, to have you as our esteemed guest of honor. Professor Adapa Sachdevan, sir, our keynote address. He's been retired professor in History of Osmania University, Hyderabad, India, and obtaining a DPhil from the South Asian History and from Heidelberg University, Germany. Joined Osmania University as assistant professor of history and served for 30 long years. After the superannuation from OU, he was appointed the chair professor of Diaspora Studies, Goa University. Research areas migration diaspora, focus on modern Andhra and Telangana. During the academic career of Professor Satyanarayana sir, achieved many distinctions. Recipient of State Award to Meritorious Teachers 2009, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Telangana government appointed him as a search committee for selecting Vice Chancellor Satavahana. Was nominated member for Indian Council of Historical Research 8 to 14, Minister of Human Resource Development, Government of India. And his academic achievements, several postdoctoral fellowships and visiting professorship by Tokyo, Kyoto University, Japan, Amsterdam University, Netherlands, Heidelberg, Jacob University, Martin Luther University in Germany. He attended many national international conferences and presented papers and themes which at Boston, Harvard, Helsinki, Finland, London, UK, Berlin, Göttingen, Humboldt, and Copenhagen, Denmark. His research articles published in reputed international journals like Critical Asian Studies, cited by several scholars. Professor Satyanarayana sir delivered several keynote addresses related to migration. Presently conducting research on migration from AP and Telangana states, sponsored by UGC, Indian Council of Social Science Research in New Delhi. And please, this kind of academic work, we have been seen and inspired by the scholarly growth of Professor Satyanarayana sir. And thank you, sir, for being giving this opportunity to introduce such a wonderful galaxy of the intellectual. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sudharani, for the elaborate introduction of the guests and also detailed report about the seminar. Now I request guests of honor, Professor Registrar of our university, to give his answer. 1 minute.
So good afternoon. So respected dignitaries on the dais, my colleagues of the Ambedkar Open University, research scholars, participants, especially research persons who came from various places here. So first at outset, I congratulate the director GRRCD for conducting the successfully today national seminar. And also, so ma'am, just yesterday I have been watching that entire program of these sessions through live. I want for that a lot of things we have been known to learn, to inspire of those, whatever the deliberations made by the various scholars in the forum. So I hope that all proceedings have been brought out in one of the book and keep it in the OER, that will be shared to the knowledge of all the people of the entire country of the world. Most of the OER policy already taken up by our university is most helpful to the, not only history scholars, it is helpful to all citizens of the country. Particularly, everyone has to know about this unsung warriors to unknown us. Whatever the known people are very less and unknown people are very high in this entire world. So I very much congratulate you successfully completed this seminar. Thankful to all of you for being here. Thank you.
Now I request our honorable guest of honor, Professor Kausara Madam, to speak.
ये से बात करेंगे आप? नहीं. आइए. पानी है मैम.
A very good morning or good afternoon to all of you. At the outset, I'd like to thank your Vice Chancellor and the other academics on the dais for literally resurrecting me from a state of hiding and invisibility. I retired many, many years ago, and I was refusing to accept these kinds of academic engagements and opportunities. But your Vice Chancellor and these people were so very persuasive that to say no to them would have amounted to be being rude and pompous and disrespectful. I don't want to ever go down in history as a pompous woman. Having said that, another ceremonial thing which I must say Thank you very much, sir, for all of you and madam. This is the first public speaking which I am doing after 6 o'clock last evening. And I think it is in order that I congratulate all of us for the moon landing, which our scientists have achieved. A tremendous achievement, a great thing for humanity and for India, despite the fact about things which I'm going to talk to you this morning, despite the heartache and the other kinds of things which are happening in this country. Having said that, your Vice Chancellor has rightly pointed out this morning that this particular seminar was organized to contextualize the values inherent in the India's freedom struggle and the struggle which was carried on by hundreds and thousands of known people and another thousands and millions of unknown people of India. Every family had somebody. If you look into your grandfather's, life histories, you will come across the fact that they did participate in this struggle and that struggle. The story in my own family was that my father joined Simon Go Back movement in 1928 as a Madras. He was caned, and my grandfather was supposed to have told him, stop doing all that, you better go and educate yourself, like all fathers. So he educated himself and he educated all of us. Thank you so much, Papa, wherever you are. Now, contextualize the values inherent in that freedom struggle. And how is the values which were pursued, the values for which our great leaders fought are relevant today? We now have to make a deal with history. Now, what were the values? The core values were democracy, equality, independence, because freedom is my birthright and I shall have it. That was Tilak for you. And then you have the luminaries. A little more about that, Madam is going to speak. But having said that, after we became independent, because I don't want to dwell too much in the past, I want us all to come to independence and after what is happening today in Delhi. So that's where my journey, I would like you people to join me in this journey. The core values which were talked about by, okay, the core values which are because distracting me, we were talked about during the Constituent Assembly debates, or during the Constituent Assembly debates where the concepts of democracy, right? Okay, democracy, equality, fraternity, equality, democracy, secularism, human rights, rule of law, etc. And as we were growing up as young teachers of political science at Usmania and young students of MA political science in Usmania, we were taught by our teachers that these are the inherent values for which Nehru fought, for which Patel fought, for which Gandhi fought. And these are the things which you have to take further. And as we grew up, some of us, including, I don't see any of my contemporaries, all of you are younger than me. So we and my contemporaries taught political science, India's government and politics, and we tell the students that this was the freedom struggle. This was the struggle of Tilak and Gandhi and Nehru and Muhammad Ali brothers and many people. But what happened after that? 47, we became independent. 48, this ungrateful nation had to witness the killing of Mahatma. And then 1950 was the declaration of India as a republic. And 1952 were the first general elections. And from 1952 to 1964, Jawaharlal Nehru chartered the ship of India through all the storms which we had inherited as a result of partition. Partition was the biggest ghav or biggest injury which was done to the Indian polity. No point talking about it. But the concern of the then builders of India was to see to it that the herd psyche of India's population on both sides of the borders is assuaged, is healed. And that is how you would find that in the first 10 years of Indian independence, there was an emphasis on secularism. There was an emphasis on human rights. There was an emphasis on, I remember President Radhakrishnan saying, to wipe every tear from every eye. And then I would go to the class, how is it possible? It was not possible to wipe every tear from every eye, but the intention was very, very noble. That's how we grew in independent India. We grew under the mentorship of Nehru and his people and his colleagues. And when we became responsible to teach about the Indian government and politics, we witnessed changes in the Indian polity. We witnessed changes in the government of India. From one-party dominance of Congress Party, we moved to other kinds of rules. Then we had alliance, coalition governments, etc. In this course, in this march of freedom and march of development and all that, let's not forget that the basic foundations of India's economic and industrial development were laid during the era of Nehru. Mr. Narendra Modi could not have achieved all that had he begun in a vacuum. The foundations were already laid by the earlier leadership. He may have changed, improved upon, brought in new things, but he inherited a functioning Indian state. He did not inherit a state like Iraq. He inherited an India which was chaperoned by Nehru and Gandhi and Patel and Azad. And that is the legacy of the present government, which is now sitting in power in Delhi. That is the legacy. They may have forgotten that. I have not. Now, having said that, let us move forward. Let us move further. And the core values were bureaucracy. Now, over a period of time, what has happened is these values have been thinned down. There is a thinning down of our ideals. There is a disrespect for everything which the earlier administration did, and there is a self-congratulatory messages of what we are all doing right now. We as teachers, we as students, we are congratulating ourselves for being the most wonderful teachers on earth, for the most wonderful administrators, for the most wonderful rulers. We are not. We are all human. And if we are human, we do commit mistakes. And to commit a mistake is human, but to forgive is divine. That's what I believe. Having said that, let me take you to something more important. And that importance is when we talk about the value system, I think it's difficult, but there are certain dates. When we talk about the value system, what is happening? Today is what, 23rd, 24th. On 24th of August, 2023, are we being true to the ideals of the Indian Constitution? Each one of us. Are our rulers being true to the ideals of the Indian Constitution? They are trying. They are trying. But then let us see what comes out of it. But what actually has happened is that if somebody would like to write on the Independence Day address delivered from the ramparts of the Red Fort the other day in Delhi on 15th of August, we heard a wonderful speech, a great speech by a great man who has remained in power and who will remain in power for any number of years because there is a brute majority which is supporting him. Now, having said that, what he said was that India is going to be a developed country very soon. Now, let me take Kajal's on that particular sentence. Is there anything that you are completely developed ever in your life, in our life? Is not development a continuous and a continual process? I cannot say that I'm developed, my mind is developed, and now I'm ready to die. I'm not really ready to die right now. And because I have so much to learn, I do not know so many things. I am so incapable of doing many things in life, many things in daily life. I know very, very little of technology, a little more about computers, but I don't know anything and everything. So each one of us is a work in progress. As individuals, we are a work in progress. So is the nation. So is the state. Let us make a distinction between the Indian state and the Indian government. Political science, public administration people, we all know what is the difference between the institution of state and the institution of government. Governments come and go, state remains. When we fight for the Indian state. The soldiers who died at Kargil, they were dying for Indian state, the motherland. They were not dying for this politician or that politician. The soldiers who are killed in wars, the scientists who performed a miracle the other day, they did it for the Indian state. The pride of being an Indian is inherent in all of us, and nobody will take it away from us. No government, whether backed by majority or minority. So, having said that, what I want to draw your attention to something, and that something is this. We have made enormous laws, liberty, equality, fraternity. During the Nehru days, it was okay, development, Bhakra, Nangal, everything. Then came the era of coalition. Then there was a brief spell of the present party who took power. And then they came back in a big way. I must commend the contemporary Indians for making India one of the most robust economies of the world, for making India an industrial power, for making India a power in the space, for making India in power in science and technology and digital world. All this has happened despite the kind of rulers which we have. So there is still hope, my dear friends. There's a lot of hope for all of us. Having said that, the more thing I would like to take you. Now in this speech, recent speech, the main speaker on 15th of August said that we have laid down the foundation for the next 1,000 years of development. You remember that phrase? Next 1,000 years of development of the Indian Constitution. Next 1,000 years were never spoken by Buddha. Next 1,000 years were never spoken by Muhammad alone. Never spoken by Shankaracharya. Next 1,000 years were never spoken by Jesus. Next 1,000 years were never spoken by our own great Hindu saints and preachers and public intellectuals. 1,000 years is a long period. And then, if I'm taking the clue for this morning's presentation from this historical reference, and then suppose I'm skipping over many things which you are expecting me to do. Suppose in the after the next 200 years, I'm not as great to take a leap of 1,000 years. I'll just take a leap of 200 years. 200 years from today, if a historian is going to write about the history of this country in which we are now living and talking and listening to each other and enjoying our listening, what is he going to write? What is he going to write about India 200 years from today? What is he going to talk about India 200 years from today? He might talk about India, which would have developed colonies on Moon and Mars. Maybe it is possible. Our scientists might accomplish that. The historian 200 years from today will also write about how the social experimentation, the anthropological experimentation would have removed the barriers between the Dalits and the non-Dalits, would have removed the barriers of religion between a Muslim and a Christian and a Hindu, would have removed the barriers, because if you advance in science and technology, the primordial basis of your personalities get ignored, and you become a functionally differentiated individual. That is, you're no longer a Hindu or no longer a Muslim. You're a professor of public administration, the vice chancellor of this great university. You're an academic, you're a doctor, you're an engineer. You are a carpenter, you are a cobbler. Because we become attached to our profession. My first identity is that of a teacher. The rest comes later. Because I have so much to learn. I know very little. I just don't know many things. But then 200 years, that historian who is my friend. Now, if you want to write, when I was doing my research way back in the late 60s and late 60s, early 70s, I wrote a thesis on national integration in India. The first 2 decades, 1947 to 67, some major political aspect. Because integration is not just a political process. Integration is a social process. If you both talk to each other, you are integrated in value system. You don't need Narendra Modi to tell you to talk to each other. So that is how I avoided sociological and anthropological aspects of integration. I harped on the political aspect of national integration. That was so because that was a topic which was very, very relevant at that point of history in our independent India. Remember, 1962, there was a Chinese aggression. The Chinese had crossed the borders, come down, and then killed some of our people, went back because they had to come down. They were coming down from the hill, and my soldiers were not equipped to climb over the hill. It was after that that the mountain division in the Indian Army was introduced. We never had a mountain division. Mountain division was introduced in the Indian Armed Forces after we got bloody nose from the Chinese. And 1962 was the post-1962. There is a phrase when Lata Mangeshkar sings, "Ay mere watan ke logo," Nehru says, "Ladki tune to hame rula diya." That was a mood of despondency. That was a mood of fear. That was a mood of feeling shaken because somebody had come and killed your soldiers, killed your people, and we couldn't do much because we thought that will never happen. How much time I have? Shall I tell you why it did not happen?
5 minutes.
No, not 5 minutes. You have invited me. I have to.
Okay.
I'm going to be another Modi. So what happens is we used to have a defense minister whose name was V.K. Krishna Menon. You remember him? V.K. Krishna Menon was quote unquote a socialist, a member of the Communist Party of Britain and all that. And Nehru was a socialist, basically, by all definitions. Hindi chini bhai, bhayo, gaira, gaira. And then when the Chinese are coming in and coming in and coming in, Krishna Menon is supposed to have told Jawaharlal Nehru, look here, Panditji, we are a socialist republic, socialist secular republic, and Chinese are communists. So communist is extreme form of socialism. One socialist country is not going to commit aggression on another socialist country. So let's not worry about the border. Okay. But history has shown us that one socialist country, a socialist country alone commits aggression on another socialist country. Soviet Union did that, China did that, both the big socialist powers have done that. So after the Chinese aggression, we were shaken and everybody said, we have to think about national integration in India. We have to bring all of us together to face the Chinese. Pakistanis had given us some headache only in 1948. The next headache would come in 1965 in India-Pakistan. So he said, and then the topic of national integration became very popular. So I started working on that. And in the process, I dealt with certain aspects very quickly, sir, with your permission. I had to identify a number of problems. And those problems which I identified one was regionalism, sub-regionalism, because Telangana movement in 1969, the first Telangana movement in which most of us participated. So regionalism and sub-regionalism was there. Then you had economic backwardness. You had the problem of caste, about which I will not speak because I am outside that circle, so I can't talk authoritatively on caste. And then you had communalism, the Hindu-Muslim problem, and you have political parties, communications, etc., and education. So I wrote that book, and that book is now out of circulation. Coming back to my historian friend 200 years from today. If the historian is going to write about not the films of India, not the music of India, not the scientists of India, but the politics of India, what is he going to write? This historian will not locate, I talked to you about my thesis because I went to the Constituent Assembly debates. Particularly, there are 11 volumes of the Constituent Assembly debates in the cellars of the Osmania University Library. Volume 6 and 7. Volume 6 deals with inter-state relations. Volume 7 deals with other things. So we used to go to the cellars, sit down and take out relevant debates. K. Santanam, Rajendra Prasad, K. M. Munshi, many other people. This man will not find anything. If he wants to look into the parliamentary debates in India, he will not find any debate worth writing about, particularly the contemporary Parliament of India. What he will find is, quote unquote, comments expunged, because they are so happy abusing and shouting at each other, all parties, not just one party. And will look there for any debate on economic development, any debate on judicial review, any debate on Hindu-Muslim unity or secularism. This man is not going to find, this historian 200 years from today. So what will he find? He will find comments expunged and interruptions and marshals taking people out, people walking out. Yes, people walking out. And then the other people shouting about their walking out, and the present dispensation happily passing bill after bill into a law. Bill after bill. Remember, all of you are public administration people. There are 5 stages of a bill becoming a law. First reading, second reading, third, committee stage, report stage, third stage, and the final voting. No stages, nothing. Bill is introduced and the bill is passed because the opposition is outside. So that is how it's happening. And this is what the historian is going to write. Secondly, he will not be able to trace the nuggets of philosophy and theory in the speeches of the present-day people. Even as recently as a few years ago, Sinha, one of the members of the BJP, Yashwant Sinha, gave a wonderful speech about the sense of the house. Our intellectual tradition of the Parliament of India were still alive till that time. But right now, I'm using a non-parliamentary language. Right now, because I'm quoting somebody. It is in quotes. Yeah. Blame Kausarazam for that. Yeah, okay. So, what is now happening is somebody says, why is Modi name common for all the people who break the law? So the man is hauled. But nobody hauls up a person who talks about with asking for your permission and your forgiveness. Nobody talks about Ramzadehs and Haramzadehs. A member of the Indian Parliament talks about this Ramzadehs and Haramzadehs, and you all know where the reference is coming to, And then the man at the helm supports and defends this particular woman member, saying she doesn't know how to speak. Don't I know how to speak? Okay, so that is it. Then there is a famous man who roams all over India. And then again, I'm keeping both the title, Rahul Gandhi and his big crime. So big crime is that Modi. This person says, Goli maro salongo. You remember this man? You remember this man? He is your minister, one of the ministers. And my historian friend will have to record that, and not parliamentary debates, because there aren't any. The third thing is, he will wonder why every place of worship is being dug into. Every place of worship. They are digging into the archaeological toll. Historian will wonder why the monuments were all suddenly being dug up. Every monument is being dug up, and this digging stops only at a certain stage. They don't go deeper, because if they go deeper, they'll find the Buddhist relics. If they go deeper, history people, if they go deeper, they will discover the relics of Buddhism. They don't want to discover that. They want to discover only the things from one particular religion, superimposed by another particular religion. So that is where their archaeology stops. So this man is going to write. And then one last thing. He will also ask what was the role of ideology in shaping the national discourse of the contemporary India, because your Vice Chancellor has been so very kind. And then he will also look into the imposition of a particular set of upper caste Hindu norms on the entire country in the name of uniformity. You're talking about uniformity and uniform civil code. Go and impose uniform civil code on the Khap Panchayat of Rajasthan, and let me see what happens. On the Catholic community, where there is no divorce. On the Kerala anthropologic things, because their entire law, or even for that matter, Northeast, the less talk about Manipur, the better. Not because of the Modi reason, we don't have time, so I'm not talking Manipur. So he will talk about the upper caste dictating. He will also write about why every Muslim wanted to not look like a Muslim. Because if you look like a Muslim, you get it. So if you have a topi, you are a terrorist. If you have an Islamic name, pakka, tu to terrorist hi hoga. And that is how every Muslim would be scared to look and appear like a Muslim. But thank God, younger men today are sporting beard, saving the other beards of the country. He will also write about the subservience of women and women disappearing from the radar. This is the radar. There are no women. Women of political parties sitting in the parliament, they alone are visible. Women of Manipur are now not visible, not at all. There are no women in Manipur as far as the government of India are concerned. So women, the gender discrimination and the gender gap, he is going to write about it. And then he is also going to write about where the people of India will choose, whether they will choose between a certain kind of a Rashtra or a certain kind of India enshrined in the Constitution. Thank you for your patience.
My apologies, Mr. Vice Chancellor.
Thank you very much for very interesting and inspiring observations about India. After 21 years. So, historians have really challenged.
I think there are lots of stories.
So, thank you very much, madam. Now, I request our chief guest, madam, Mrs. Professor Ismat Mehdi, madam, to speak a few words in this kind.
There's a lot of
So a very good morning to everyone. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Sudharani, Professor Azam, Professor Adapa Satyanarayana, Sitaram Rao, and all of you who have come to hear this valedictory function. I'm indeed grateful to the university for including me and for inviting me to this function. What do we take from the unsung warriors of the freedom struggle and their contemporary relevance? I'm indeed honored and humbled to be among the luminaries on the dais. And before you, who have taken part in this very important seminar. So having heard the Vice Chancellor and having heard the fiery speech of Dr. Azam, mine will be very insipid, I'm afraid. So here I go. What do we take from them? What do we take from the unsung warriors of the freedom struggle? The first point I thought I would raise is freedom from fear, which Gandhiji had advocated. He said there are 4 cardinal facts that should be kept in mind while taking the national freedom movement forward. One was, he said, the masses of India were afraid to face the baton and of going to prison. When the freedom struggle was being started, many people drew back. They said, we'll go to prison, what will our families think, what will be our future? So Gandhiji said, we should not be afraid of that. His primary objective was to free them from all these fears. Now, once you are not afraid, you can do anything, you can achieve anything. Then he said the oppressed classes who ran into millions were not organized. And that is very true. We are a very divided country. We have been over the centuries. So foreigners have come and ruled over us because we cannot be united. So Gandhiji said we have to unite. Then he said various governments had divided the people along lines of religion, region, caste, and creed. Gandhi saw the pressing need to unite them. Then he said poverty and unemployment had depressed and weakened the masses. That is true even today. Their economic self-sufficiency was an urgent necessity before any fighting spirit could be kindled in them. And Gandhiji found ways and solutions for dealing with all these problems, like freedom from fear. So many people joined, women also joined from all over India, and they were fighting the national struggle, and they were not afraid of going to prison or being killed. Then the masses were not organized. So Gandhiji had a way of organizing people. In his organization, there were people from all sections, from all castes, and that was the great strength by which we could fight against the colonization. Then people were divided according to religion, region, etc., etc. And that is today also a very big problem. But there were many leaders in India, not only Gandhi, but there were many other leaders in India who rose to the occasion and who tried to solve this problem. And one of them was Netaji. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, in his organization of the IMA, found that the new recruits into the IMA were from different parts of India, they're from different regions, different religions, and how to unite them all, because it was a small force, the IMA, which fought against the British. So he said that there should be unity among them. Now, how do they have unity? First of all, the greeting. He said there should be a common greeting because the prisoners of war who had come from the camps, the British prisoners of war who were Indians, they were fighting for England. So he said, why should you fight for the British? Why should you not fight for your country? And then he found that they were greeting each other in different ways. Some said, some said namaste, some said salam alaikum, some said. So he wanted to find a common slogan which would unite, which would be common to India. So he asked his people, his close associates, to come up with some ideas. Some said hello. So he said, since he was very angry, he said, be serious about this. It is not a laughing matter. It is a matter of uniting the country and uniting the people. So and my uncle was one of them, Safrani. it was a very close associated of Netaji. So he said that as they were walking and hearing these troops, these ex-prisoners, some said, Jai Hindustan Ki. So Netaji said, no, no, that is very wrong, very long. Nobody will say Jai Hindustan Ki. Then they said Jai Hind. So Jai Hind became the common salute of the INA, and it has been adopted by India. And Panditji from the Red Fort on Independence Day ended his speech saying Jai Hind 3 times. And from now and every time, the armed forces, they say Jai Hind to each other when they greet. So these are small things, but they do matter. You know, when you want to unite people, you should not have differences, even in greetings. Then poverty and unemployment. Gandhi had many ways of alleviating poverty and unemployment. First of all, he said that the clothes we wear were too many, far too many for us. Once he went to meet the Governor General, and he said, he ridiculed him. He said, what are you wearing? Half naked fakir. Half clad naked fakir. He said, but you, my lord, you're wearing enough for both of us. So he was unafraid of carrying on his shit. And then, of course, the Khadi movement. The Khadi movement, which went to every house, made people self-reliant. And I can tell you from my travels in the world, that people really envy us for these things, for being original, for being stuck to our inheritance, for wearing clothes that are our own and not adopting everything, not importing. Of course, now things are changing very much, which we have to guard against. But Gandhi is the inspiration, and Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay carried this on, and they made Indian clothes, weavers. They empowered them. And Gandhi himself used to weave. And Pandit Nehru, whenever he was in prison, he would say, when in doubt, weave. So they all kept to, they all showed that this could be done by all. And then the handloom industry grew from strength to strength, and we are one of the very proud nations which have this, and it's exported all over the world. We are protecting our farmers, we are protecting our weavers, we are protecting our clothes, and we're wearing something which we are very proud of. So these things are very important to us. We have then inclusiveness, which we learn from Gandhi, which we learn from Netaji. We have to combine and learn from everyone who has given us something. We should not discard all this. Nowadays, there are differences. There are obstacles which had been overcome to a large extent, have been now destroyed. In this city, in the state of Telangana, we have been a very united state with people living different religions, and all over India. Bengal is another example where people, the Muslims, the Hindus, the Christians, and all lived together, and there was no animosity. But now it is being created, and we have to guard against that, because this is what the sacrifices of the unsung warriors had tried to remove, and now we are recreating them. So this is not very fair. We have to overcome obstacles. We have to do something. And for that, I think research is very important. It is very important for universities like the Ambedkar Open University to have a separate section for in each department to do research along these lines. How do we overcome these obstacles? How do we learn from the unsung warriors in the freedom struggle? So with that, I thank you very much for asking.
Yeah, very much, very good. Madam, really wonderful. We have listened the lectures from two different angles. Yes, madam, the way they have presented. Thank you. About the freedom struggle and really very interesting and thought-provoking. Now I request for another guest, Professor Adappa. To give his valedictory message, not a message. That's what I did not listen. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. President of the session, Professor Sitaramara, Honorable Vice Chancellor, and the distinguished dignitaries on the dais, Professor Binath, Madam, Dr. Evan Reddy, Mrs. Ismat Heidi, my student, and very great competent scholar, Sudharani, and distinguished dignitaries of the dais, ladies and gentlemen. I take this opportunity to bring out one particular dimension of the freedom struggle. Because we all know freedom struggle was a multi-class, multi-caste, multi-religious, multi-regional movement and articulation. And in the evolution of Indian nationalism, the different voices were articulated and were heard. We just heard Babu Basha about one gender dimension. You see? Similarly, the Dalits, the Adivasis, the backward classes have their own perception of nation, nationalism, freedom, and so on. I like one particular quotation by one great Dalit leader, Kusuma Dharmana. He aptly summarized freedom. He said, Samanatva Swatantram. Equality is freedom. I mean, in that one particular slogan, Kusuma Dharmana conceptualized freedom in its entirety. That just as the women sought liberation from patriarchy, within the context of what for them, patriarchy is anti-national, patriarchy is anti-human. So therefore, they wanted to get rid of patriarchy. Similarly, the Dalits, for them, of course, the British colonialism was an arch enemy, but there is an enemy within, and that enemy is within is the caste system and the caste oppression. Therefore, they sought freedom from internal oppression. So therefore, this conference, this seminar has very aptly brought out the multi-dimensionality of the Indian national freedom struggle and the different voices. And you see, today we talk of nation and nationalism, not in terms of personalities. When we were students, we were taught that freedom struggle means, important events, dates, personalities. 1757, 1857, 1920, 1940 to 47. That ends the freedom struggle, history of freedom struggle. But now we are trying to understand freedom struggle and the various articulations of the Indian society, how the women perceived nation and freedom, how Dalits, Adivasis, how the backward classes, and in a sense, of course, the elite leadership of the Indian national movement, predominantly Hindu upper caste Brahmins, articulated the concept of nation and freedom. But that particular concept was at variance, with the articulations of the people from below. And today, we are trying to understand nationalism, national articulation in its totality by bringing in these sectoral voices together. And these seminars like these will go a long way. We talked about the forgotten heroes. You see, as a student of history, I remember I didn't know much about Subhash Chandra Bose, when we were taught the history of freedom struggle paper. Somehow, it gets
sort of marginalized. Of course, as we know, knowledge is power. So the historiographical constraints, of course, were there in the 70s, till about 70s. But from 1980s onwards, the great historiographical revolution has taken place in the writing of history in modern India. This is called the subaltern historian, subaltern historiography, which has sensitized the people, the scholars, to understand and analyze the voices from below, the non-elite, lower class segment of the Indian society. So therefore, today we have come a long way in understanding nationalism and freedom struggle from above and from below. And in that sense, the seminar has made a seminal contribution. I'm very happy to be part of this seminar because for me, Ambedkar Open University always has been a second home, and Sitaramara and his team have been very kind enough to give me an opportunity to share some of my views. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Satana. Two more items are left over before voter. Thanks, one more. One is about the extending our felicitations to our honorable guests, and then certification, distribution of the certificates, the seminar. And now I request Dr. Venugopal Reddy to organize this program.
Our felicitation to our chief guest of today's event, Professor Ismat Mehdi, Madam. I request our Vice Chancellor and Madam also to join in felicitations. Professor. I will stop. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the honor. And thank you. Sorry for disappointing. Talking away all the time.
I'm not a one.
Okay. I request Naresh to please come to the dais. Thank you so much for your help and last minute help, and we requested him. It was going out of our hands, so really he had done wonderful job, and within no time, thanks to Srinivas also for doing. And thank you so much for my PM.
Hardik.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I request our chief guest to felicitate our Vice Chancellor.
Madam, self-congratulations.
From BRCI.
From BRCI.
Yeah, very few certificates will be given here because of the paucity of the time. Please bear with us. Kind all the certificates from the registration counter. I call upon I. Ravindran to the dais. Is there? Please come to the dais to take your certificate from our esteemed guests. Next to Daini garu. Fine, fine. I request all of them to come from that side, please. Daini, next. Yes. Raghavendra Reddy. Now Daini. Raghavendra Reddy next. Aruna. Dr. Arvind Kumar. Dr. G. N. Subbarao. Yes. Dr. Y. Praveen Kumar Yalala. Dr. J. Jyoti Bai. Jyoti is here. K. Uma Devi next. Dr. M. Nagaraju. Dr. Magdum Khaja Magdum Mohiuddin. Sunil Kumar Podna. Sunil is here. Purim Qureshi Siddiqui. Sunil is come. Mahmood PhD scholar. Purim, yeah, Purim is waiting. Sunil Kichesara. Adi Kadam. Okay. Magdum is not there. He Wayne Cooper. Purim, yeah, certificate is there. Yeah, sir. We choose him again. We paid him. I'm there, yes. It's there. Venugopal. Magdum has come. Thank you. And if I forget my friends, please don't mind because time is very short for us. And kindly bear with this and set vote of thanks. Autograph.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon to all the audience who are present on the stage and on the dais. It's my proud privilege to present the vote of thanks. First, I'd like to initially thank all the resource persons who are there on the stage, the chief guest of today's function, Professor Ismat Mehdi, for kindly accepting and gracing this occasion, and Professor Arapa Sachinarayana Garu for giving the valedictory address, and also the guest of honor, Professor Kaushik Devi and Dr. A.V. Reddy Garu for gracing the occasion, and Professor K. Sitaramaro Garu for being the president of this function. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. I'd also like to extend my thanks for all the speakers, and especially these two of the speakers are still down here, are guests of today's the session. In the morning session, we had these guests who spoke about the Andhra Women's participation as well as Darsi Chenchaya. Professor Sheikh Mehboob Pasha and Dr. A. Ravi Kumar, thank you for being with us here, sir, and participating in this function. The two-day function of exploring the contributions of unsung warriors comes to an end now. I would like to thank the persons who have graced the occasion and also have come here and have given us the invaluable message. belonging to the present generation, we are not much aware of all the contributions of both the sung as well as unsung heroes. But then Professor Bhangya Bhukia, as well as Professor Professor Zarina Parveen and Dr. T. Vivek has enlightened much about all the warriors who have fought from both the Hyderabad state as well as from all over India. Also, yesterday's program, the Dr. Drama Warrior Women of Bharat, was presented by several performers. Alekhya Punjala, Aishwarya Warrior, Jyoti Srivatswa, Alakananda Das Gupta, Pratibha Prahlad, Sharudi Sakia, and Chandana Agarwal have presented on different women warriors of Bharat. We have been actually enthralled by the performance, and we thank them for bearing with us and being here with us and trying to enlighten all our students. And also, I'd like to thank Srimati Surabhi Vani Devi, Professor Rama Malkote, C.I. Achitam Sridhar, and Dr. A.V.R. and Reddigar for being here with us and giving us all the support. I would like to thank the technical staff of EMR and RC, Professor V. Srinivas Garu, Padana Srinivas Garu, and also his staff and the technical team, as well as our PRO and team, and also our caretaker and our guest house faculty, and as well as the staff, the teaching and the non-teaching staff, our teachers, scholars, and especially our friends here, Mr. Praveen, as well as Mr. Subbarao Garu, and all the associate professors, Uma, Aruna, and computer science people, and all the other persons who have assisted here, been with us here, and also our engineer and others faculty, without whose support this function would not have been such a success. Thank you, one and all.
And big thanks to ICSS, Sudhakar Reddy Garu, who promised financial help, and Naresh Garu for being with us for the cultural event, and all the research scholars who are here. And yesterday's performance, I'll convey our thanks to all the performers. And thank you, one and all. Please join us for lunch, which is arranged at